there swinging. Backer throws. There's a long strike. A Kirby, I believe. The Giants win the pennant. 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 Bobby Thompson hits into the lower deck of the left field stand. The Giants win the pennant, and they're going crazy.
So I'm not saying this because I'm trying to be funny or make a bad joke or anything, but coronavirus is really killing my show, both shows. So, you might be asking, like, what are you doing in your car? And, we're at a point where we just have to think outside the box. And by the box, I mean my house. And, so, this is maybe a little bit suboptimal, but, honestly, a car is not a bad place to record video and audio. You're inside this environment where you don't get a lot of sound reflection and stuff. So who knows? Maybe the audio sounds good. I just have a microphone sitting on top of the camera, so we'll see how that goes. But, as is the case with so many things with my show, this is a video that I've been wanting to make for a pretty long time, and it finally came down to, I feel like this is kind of the deadline to make it, is like today or tomorrow. So obviously what this video is about because it says it in the title. So I'll just warn people, if I know there's a lot of you guys out there who you couldn't care less about sports. And so maybe today's episode is not for you, and that's okay. But and so why I say it's like a deadline is, the World Series is going on right now, and it would have been nice to have this video out sooner, but what are you going to do? But tonight might be the last game of the World Series, so by the time you guys see this, the World Series might be over. But baseball was kind of a big. Well, I don't want to say it was a big part of my childhood, but I feel like it was a memorable part of it. I was really into baseball when I was a kid. Like a lot of the kids I palled around in were really into baseball, which I guess we'll get into. So like I said, tonight could be the last game of the World Series. The Dodgers are playing the Tampa Bay Rays. And, of course, as a Giants fan, I'm supposed to hate the Dodgers or whatever, because of this, it's the oldest rivalry in North American sports. But, some people just take rivalries way too seriously, in my opinion. It's being a sports fan, period, is supposed to be fun. And so having a rivalry to me with another team or, because the thing is that extends to the fans, right? Like your team's fan base is having a rivalry with the other team's fan base, but it should all be in good fun. And, this is like not a popular opinion among Giants fans, but for me, if the Dodgers win the World Series tonight, I'm not really going to have that big of a problem with it for a few reasons, not the least of which is the fact that I think they got robbed playing against the cheating Astros a couple of years ago, whenever that was. So I was actually really hoping to see a rematch and to see the Dodgers beat the Astros. Just because, not speaking as a Giants fan, but just speaking as a sports fan, that would have been sort of like, just karmic justice. But, this time of year, like for me, it's late October right now, and the World Series for me, or just playoff baseball in general, is like a huge part of that. Like when I think of autumn, which is my favorite time of the year, the things I think about are, of course, the holidays, Halloween and Thanksgiving, school starting, although that doesn't really apply to me so much anymore. Of course, the weather getting cooler, which is, around here is welcome relief. But it's also sports. I mean, October normally, like during a normal year, October is the greatest month of the year if you're a sports fan, because you have all four major North American sports going at the same time, which is awesome. But, for me, the biggest part of that Even though, like, I'm not, baseball is not the sport that I'm into the most, but I think it's the biggest part of October sports is the so-called Fall Classic. And my memories of watching the World Series go way back. And in fact, the very first World Series that I remember watching was the '85 World Series. So I was only 8 years old. And, I remember watching that on like the, wooden living room console TV. But anyway, that was the Kansas City Royals versus the St. Louis Cardinals. So it was like the two teams from Missouri. Although I don't remember that then. It's funny how your childhood memories work. And I know some of you guys tell me you can't hardly remember anything from childhood, which is really a bummer. But like for me, for all I know, we might have watched all 7 games of that World Series, and I just don't have a memory of that. I just have a memory of the very end, like the end of Game 7. That's the first time I really ever remember watching like a professional sports championship happen. Like, I'm sure that, by then the Niners had already won 2 Super Bowls, and so I'm sure, I was around watching those at my parents', but football is a little bit different because, there are some sports where, a game can be wrapped up by, maybe even halfway through the game. I mean, certainly that can happen in football. I mean, a good example of that actually would be the '89 Super Bowl where, the Niners beat the Broncos 55-10. So the players and by extension the fans don't ever get like that moment of knowing like it's it, this is it, like they did it, I think basketball can be that way. It just depends. I mean, football can be, football can go both ways, and so can basketball. But I feel like baseball and hockey both. It's like Yogi Berra has his famous quote of, it's not over till it's over. And that's really true in baseball. All that is to say is like that was the first time I ever saw. I remember watching the game. I remember Brett Saberhagen was on the mound for the Royals. He pitched a complete game. And, I just remember watching that pitcher-batter duel. I don't remember what the score was. I could have looked it up, but I don't remember. I just remember when the Royals got that third out, and all of a sudden you had all these grown men on the field acting like they were little kids again. And I just remember that, like, really making an impression on me, seeing something like that. And I just thought that was, like, the coolest thing. And I remember watching the same thing the next year, the '86 World Series. That was also a 7-game World Series. And that was the Mets versus the Red Sox. And it's funny because that World Series is famous for, in Game 6, Bill Buckner let that ground ball go between his legs. And if that hadn't happened, the Red Sox would have won the game and won the series. But I don't remember that at all. I mean, maybe we didn't watch that game. I don't remember. It's the exact same thing. I remember Game 7. I remember the end of Game 7. And I remember Jesse Orosco was the pitcher for the Mets. He was, a reliever or a closer. I don't remember which. And same thing. I remember that third out, and I remember, all the players going crazy. And 87, I don't remember. The '88 World Series, I remember very well. That was the Dodgers versus, I believe it was the A's. And the main thing I remember about that one, so like just a little brief backstory. My dad was born and raised in Brooklyn, and my dad was old enough that when he was a kid, the Brooklyn Dodgers were still playing at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn. And so he was like a lifelong Dodgers fan. Like the Dodgers moved to California, and then at some point later he moved out here to California. And so like he was very excited that the Dodgers were in the World Series. And at this point I was 11 years old, and I really had no notion of there being any kind of like Giants-Dodgers rivalry. I didn't care. I mean, I was rooting for the Dodgers just because my dad was rooting for the Dodgers. And I have a very vivid memory of Kirk Gibson hitting that famous home run where he was limping around the field. And I thought, I remember running through my house, like yelling, like I was so excited when that happened. And I remember after that, I remember buying or asking for someone to buy for me a Dodgers hat. I wore like a fitted, this was, I think, fitted caps were a big deal. This would have been, I guess, when I was in 6th grade, but like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, all the cool kids had fitted baseball caps. And the first one I ever had was a Dodgers baseball cap, and it was because of that World Series, and because my dad was a Dodgers fan. But then the funny thing is the '89 World Series, that was the Giants versus the A's, and so the so-called Battle of the Bay. And so just to show you that I really didn't know anything about this rivalry, I was rooting for the Giants. And I don't really know why, because I remember at this time, you had Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire on the A's. And I remember I had friends that had that, they were called the Bash Brothers. And I had friends that had that Bash Brothers poster on their wall. And I mean, I didn't have like a problem with the A's, but I just, like, for whatever reason, I wanted the Giants to win. I was a huge San Francisco 49ers fan. The Niners and the Giants at that point played in the same park/stadium, Candlestick Park, and I wanted the Giants to win. And I don't remember. I mean, again, I guess I could have looked it up. I don't remember what game it was when this, the famous earthquake happened. But I remember like coming home from school. Well, probably I went to Jonathan's house after school. But, coming home in time to watch the game, because, I mean, I usually had to leave Jonathan's house at like 5 o'clock anyway, because his dad would come home. But, like, I remember going in my room, and I had this little, I've talked about it before, I had this little, like, 12 or 13-inch, I think it was a Zenith, black and white TV that I swear must have been from the 60s. I mean, it was, like, old. And, but it, I didn't care. I had a TV in my room, like, come on. I even used to play, I've said this before, I think, I even used to play, Nintendo on there. I would play, like Super Mario Brothers or Zelda in black and white, and I didn't care. I'd watch cartoons on there in black and white. But I had gone in my room and put it on the, whatever station it was on, I would go home and watch the game. And, I think I had gone out into the kitchen to, I don't know, maybe go get a soda or something, or get some chips. My mom I was home alone. My mom wasn't home yet. And, we lived close enough to San Francisco that normally, you might barely feel an earthquake, like a earthquake that was centered in the Bay Area. Mostly I remember growing up, like, if there was an earthquake in the Bay Area, maybe you would have, like, the pictures on our wall would rattle a little bit. Or if you had like a chandelier or something, you'd see the chandelier swing. Like, I don't remember having an earthquake that was like so, violent that I could actually feel it. And same thing here. I don't remember feeling the earthquake. I just remember going back into my room, and all of a sudden they're talking about, how this earthquake happened. And, obviously they had to cancel the game. And then, the Giants got swept and lost that World Series, which was a bummer. But the next one I remember is 91. And the only reason I remember that, and it's funny, it's kind of almost like a false memory, but 1991, by then we had already moved in with my grandma. And, I used to watch TV. We had this room at my grandma's house called the family room. And that's where the TV was. And it was the same kind of, wooden console TV, Quasar. And nobody else ever wanted to hang out there. Like, I could hang out and watch TV out there, and I could watch whatever I want or do whatever I want. Like, my grandma just had a rule or whatever. Like, I couldn't make a mess out there and leave it. Like, I couldn't have, like, Legos or something spread out all over the floor or whatever. Or, she would have something to say about that. But, it was almost like having a second room. Like, my video games were hooked up out there because the TV was bigger. Every night I could sit out there and watch TV. And I ended up, and this is why I remember this, but, that October, maybe, I don't know, a week before the World Series, or, I mean, heck, I don't know, during the World Series, I got my grandma had a card table. I don't know if some people don't know. I don't know if card tables are called different things. It's like a folding table, but with like a nice plush, like pleather top. And it's a table that, like, you know, people in my grandma's generation were big into like playing cards. Like, I don't know if anybody out there watches that 70s show, but like, you know, Red and Kitty would have Bob and Midge come over for like card night. And that was just popular with like older generations. And I mean, probably there's a lot of you out there that do that now with board games or something. I mean, I don't do that, but my grandparents were really into that. They would have like friends come over and play like bridge or whatever. And I don't know why you can't just sit around the kitchen table and play that, but they had a card table and they would set it up in the living room, not the family room. I wasn't allowed in the living room, and play cards. But so I took this card table out because nobody was using it and like set it up. And I just remember I was messing around. I had bought this tabletop like strategy game, like, you know, like the hex grid kind of game. You know, when I was a kid, I would get money in my pocket and it would be burning a hole in my pocket. And somehow I must have had like 10 or 15 bucks. And I ended up, we had like a dedicated store that sold role-playing, like pen and paper role-playing games, tabletop games, stuff like that. And so I bought this like Civil War themed role-playing or strategy like hex grid game. I have no idea. I'm sure it was in like the clearance bin. And I got the card table out and set it up, and I think I was like playing games like against myself or something. And but I remember sitting there messing around with it, watching the World Series, and it's funny because I kind of had this false memory of, you know, sitting at that table eating my Halloween candy, watching the World Series. Because 91 I was a freshman in high school, and that was the last year I went trick or treating. And but that World Series ended, I think, on like the 27th or something. So it ended before Halloween, but I think I just still had that card table set up. But that year, I forgot who they played. I think it was the Braves. It was the Twins won the series that year. I think they played the Braves. And the standout player I remember was Kirby Puckett. Like, I might not have known who Kirby Puckett was before that series, but after that series, like, I just remember like the same thing, like, you know, 85, I just remember Brett Saberhagen and George Brett. 86, I remember Jesse Orozco. These were names that all through my childhood I could have told you. You know, oh, who was the pitcher? You know, 86, Jesse Orozco. And 91, I just remember like Kirby Puckett was like kind of the standout guy for me. After that, I don't really remember a lot of World Series after that for quite some time until I guess the late 90s, but more I think about like the early 2000s when the Yankees were, you know, amazingly good, like the Joe Torre years with the Yankees. And, you know, I'm not any kind of Yankees fan at all. I mean, I'm just very indifferent. Like, I'm not a fan. I don't have a problem with the Yankees. But I'll be very honest and say that I really used to look forward to playoff baseball in that span of however many years that was. You know, when you had like Derek Jeter and Jorge Posada and Andy Pettit and I mean, there was a lot of great players that rotated. Bernie Williams, Paul O'Neill, you know, guys that rotated. Mariano Rivera. I used to look forward to that. I used to love watching that in that era, those Yankees teams play in the postseason. And I mean, it was fun watching the rivalry between the Yankees and the Red Sox get to where it was because, you know, finally, you know, both teams were pretty good. Excuse me. And like I remember the ALCS where the Yankees went up 3-0 against the Red Sox, and the Red Sox came back and won 4 straight. And again, it was like, you know, I really wasn't rooting for one team over the other. It was just you were watching these amazing teams play, and just to be able to watch the Red Sox come back and win 4 straight and go to the World Series and then subsequently win that World Series, you know, you just felt like as a sports fan and a baseball fan, you know, you were really witnessing something great. And then, of course, unfortunately, during that same period of time, you had, I think it was the 2002 World Series, you know, Giants versus the Angels, and the Giants lost again. That was kind of a bummer. But I mean, I don't know. That's enough talking about World Series through the years. But so one of the main things I wanted to talk about, though, like first of all, I wanted to talk about why baseball was such a big part of my childhood back then. And it's funny because like I didn't even play Little League baseball. So I mean, for a lot of kids, baseball was a much bigger part of their childhoods. But it's just, I guess the three things I would say is it's playing baseball out in the street with my friends. It's baseball cards and baseball video games. So, starting with the first thing, playing baseball with your friends. Like I remember I think this is how I learned the rules of baseball was like maybe second or third grade, playing kickball in PE. I don't know if any of you guys played kickball. I had such a good time. So kickball is imagine baseball, but you play it with like some kind of larger light ball that you can kick. So ideally would just be a soccer ball, or you could use like a volleyball or a smaller red rubber ball that you use for like Foursquare. And I mean, I don't remember which one we used. Who cares? But and so when you're up to bat, usually the pitcher is either on your team, or I remember when we played kickball, because it was a whole class, so we had enough players on each team to like each field a complete team. My memory is that the PE teacher was the pitcher, because in kickball you're not really, at least in kids. I mean, maybe there's some kind of weird, pseudo semi-professional kickball or adult league kickball, and it's different, but. In the setting I'm talking about, you're not like trying to strike out the batter because that seems kind of ridiculous. But, you kind of underhand roll the ball to home plate, and then the batter kicks it into play. And I played that long before I ever played any kind of like baseball or softball or t-ball. That's the first time I ever remember playing a baseball-like game. And that was pretty fun. But I spent a lot of time, like we would just play baseball, or I'll say like baseball out in the street. And, maybe it would be nicer. We would have actual baseball bats, and we might use like tennis balls, because, I mean, you can really rake a tennis ball. Or we would have a wiffle bat and a wiffle ball. Or, I mean, shoot, you can even use like a broomstick. I mean, that was popular. I remember my dad telling me about that when my dad grew up in Brooklyn. They would play quote unquote stickball, and stickball was a broomstick, or something like a broomstick, and a ball that you can still get these balls called Spaldings. That's not the official name. That's like slang, a Spalding. It's a little red rubber ball. Imagine like a racket ball, but like a little bit bigger and red. It's like, it was like a quarter at a drugstore when you were a kid. And so he used to tell me about that. In fact, I remember one time, I don't remember how this even came up, but like I was hanging out in my backyard, and I remember my dad comes out there, and I think I had a tennis ball, and maybe I was trying to like I used to do that, like I would practice hitting by taking a ball and just throwing it straight up in the air and then trying to hit it, which is kind of ridiculous because of course that's not how you would hit a baseball or something, because someone would be throwing it at you. But what is this guy going fishing? All right. It's kind of an odd time for that. But when you only have yourself, then you do what you got to do. You throw the ball up in the air and you try to hit it. And I just remember my dad came out there, and like, he had like this smile on his face. He's like, "Hey, let me show you something." Like he wanted to show me that he still had what it took from his stickball days. So he takes this tennis ball and throws it up in the air and just smashes it like over the fence and just gone. And which is funny. I don't know where it ended up, and I just remember thinking like, man, that was my last tennis ball. But whatever. But so we used to play something, I guess, if you want to call it, like we didn't call it stickball, we just called it playing baseball. It might be in somebody's yard or in a cul-de-sac, and invariably there would only be a few of us, so not enough to field teams, and so we would have to use what we called ghost runners. So I'm sure some of you guys must know what I'm talking about, but so you wouldn't have enough people to have like actual fielders even or base runners, like on defense and offense. And so, like, the other guy would pitch the ball to you, and you had like these predetermined markers around, like, all right, if you get it past the fence, that's a single, or if you get it, if you're playing in somebody's front yard, for instance, well, if you can get it, past the walk, that's a single, on the other side of the street, that's a double, et cetera, et cetera. And then, so like if you hit the ball and you got it into the single, then you had to declare ghost runner on first, because you got a single, but there was nobody to go stand on first. And everybody would have to keep track in their mind of which bases had ghost runners on them. Because then if you hit a double, then you had ghost runners on second and third. And we used to do that just like all the time. What else? Here's another one. I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but when I was in PE in high school, I don't remember ever playing baseball or any kind of variant of baseball aside from that one kickball thing anytime in elementary school or junior high school. But in high school, we used to play something called mush ball. Not slush ball. That would be a lot more fun, but and maybe it went under different names in different parts of the country or something. I don't know. Mush ball was a ball that was like maybe like the size of a large grapefruit or bigger. Because a softball is a little smaller, but it was probably about that big, like 6 inches in diameter, like a big ball, and it was heavy and it was a little bit squishy. And the reason for that was that somebody could hit the mush ball and you could catch it with your bare hands. Although, it's funny because like when I was in high school, I'm 6 feet tall now, so like I'm not like super tall, but I'm no joke either. But when I was a kid, like I was really small. Like I was always like the smallest kid in class until I finally grew. And I feel like I went to high school. I'd be in PE with these guys who were just like, why are you in PE? Like, why aren't you? Because in my high school, if you played any organized sport, that was like a PE substitute. And so there were guys in my PE class, and it's like, why aren't you playing a sport? Because, they would get up there and they could smash that ball, that mush ball, like out, like, not like a home run, but like a deep fly ball. Whereas like, me with my little spaghetti arms, I would hit the ball, and like the bat would like bounce off the ball. And like, it's funny though, because I actually used to get a decent number of base hits because I would hit the ball and it wouldn't go. It was almost like a bunt, like not quite, but close. And then I could beat it out, getting to first base. But like, I remember one time they stuck me out in like, center field or something. And one of these guys gets up to bat and just smashes the ball right at me. And immediately I'm just like, oh man, like, cause I know I'm not going to be able to catch it, but I get myself in the right position and I tried to catch the ball, and I swear it's like someone took a bat and hit me in the hands with it. And of course I dropped it because that ball weighed so much and it had so much momentum that it just like, you should catch it like a football, right? But then I'm just figuring it's going to knock the wind out of me. I don't know. But yeah, mush ball, that was fun. And I remember with those, being in high school, like we had like several baseball diamonds on camp. Because right, you had like the varsity baseball diamond, which didn't get used for PE. But then like, you had like the JV field and the freshman field. And then there was like a couple of other backstops. And, if we were playing mush ball that day, the PE coaches would just get those like safety orange rubber bases and just throw them out on the field, in the appropriate locations. But it's funny because like to this day, like I would love to play softball, like an adult league, casual, people don't take it seriously kind of softball game. That sounds like so much fun. Or honestly, even just to be able to play catch. Like that's actually one of the biggest simple pleasures I miss about being a kid is playing catch. I used to play catch with my dad. I used to play catch a lot with Stuart. Cause like I said, I lived so close to my high school that, if it was a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, we would just grab our gloves and a baseball and just go out into one of the athletic fields and just play catch and, talk about life, at least whatever life a 14-year-old has. But the other thing we got to talk about, or the next thing anyway, is baseball cards. Because being interested in baseball, I guess got me into baseball cards. And I don't know if that's like, if I had a friend that was into baseball cards, or, my dad sometimes would come home from work and just sort of bring me something. Like, maybe he had to stop at the store, or he stopped and got gas and went inside and bought a pack of cigarettes or something. And he might bring me like just some little thing. And so it's possible that he brought me a pack of baseball cards. But however it happened, I got into collecting. I wouldn't even say collecting, really. I mean, to me, baseball cards were like toys at first. And the first series of baseball cards that I ever started buying were the 86 Topps. So sometime after the 85 World Series, but before the 86 World Series. But I was still getting them in 86. And it was like, I mean, back then, a pack of baseball cards was, I think, 35 cents. And much like I said a long time ago with the stamp collecting, I mentioned that, for some reason I showed some interest in stamp collecting, and my dad, stopped at home one day on the way home from work. He went to a hobby shop and bought me like a stamp collector, like beginning stamp collector's kit or whatever, with like a album in it and some stamps and a book. And he did the exact same thing with baseball cards. He bought me like a, baseball card collector's, starter kit. And, it came with like a binder and like just a few of those pages that hold like 9 cards. And I remember it might have come with more than one card, but the card that I remember is, there's that famous Honus Wagner card. It's a tobacco card, so it's much smaller than a regular baseball card. It came with like a little, replica of that. And then it came with a book that was like the history of baseball cards and collecting baseball cards. And it talked about that card. And I remember thinking that was really cool. So, I mean, I could talk for baseball cards. I really don't want to, though. But I'll just say, I started collecting Topps in 86. And, for me, it wasn't about collecting at all. I would get my cards. I had a stack. I mean, the stack, of course, got bigger as the year went on. But, I mean, I had that stack of baseball cards. I took a rubber band and put it around one way and then put a twist in it and then wrapped it around it the other way. So, I mean, all my cards had little rubber band indentations in them, because to me, it's like, I didn't look at them as like, oh, this is like a collectible. It was like toys. Like, I used to sit at my kitchen table and sort them in different ways. Like, I'd put them in alphabetical order, and then I'd put them by team, or I'd put them by position. It was just like something to do. And, that was 86 Topps. And then when 87 came around, that was the year that I started getting an allowance from my parents. And I think I blew all my allowance for that entire year buying baseball cards every single week. I would go down, there was a little corner market where I would go buy my packs of baseball cards. And, again, they were 35 cents back then. The cards were very cheap. They were glossy on one side and like matte, or whatever you want to call it, like uncoated on the back. And, unlike today, so like Topps is like the, the number one, baseball card company, just as far as like volume goes. And Topps is a candy company, and they only started selling baseball cards because it was something that they were putting in with their candy to try to sell candy. But for that reason, like, baseball cards were distributed in the same channels, if you want to call them that, as candy. And so you could pretty much buy baseball cards anywhere that you could buy candy. Like any liquor store, corner store, grocery store, you could get them. They would have like special packs even if you went to a place like Toys R Us. But unlike today, I mean, today, unless you go to a specialty card shop, the only place I know of to buy baseball cards around here would be at Target. And I mean, they have a nice selection, obviously. But, the days, I think, of being a kid and, being able to take your allowance money and go buy a pack of baseball cards and some candy is probably over, just because baseball cards are are so expensive now. And that's what I was going to say. So I bought my packs of cards every week at this little like independent neighborhood grocery store that we had. And I bought so many packs of 87 tops and 88 tops that, like, later on I got one of those card boxes. And for each one, I had well over one entire row of cards. I don't know how many cards that is, but hundreds, I think. And, that would be easy to do if you were buying like a box of cards. But I was buying those like 1 or 2 packs at a time. And of course, what I was trying to do is put together a complete set. But, I got a few more things I want to say about baseball cards. But now we're going to get to the part of this episode that I'm really excited about. And it's funny. So this episode really has been sort of like in the making for a long time. But I bought on eBay. These are out of order now. I bought 2 packs. Hold on. There we go. I bought 2 packs, unopened packs, of 1986 Topps baseball cards. And I've been waiting to open these since I bought them months ago. So I guess something I'll say real quick. These old 80s Topps baseball cards are like completely worthless. Like I said, they're cheap cards. They're from a time, I'm not any kind of baseball card expert, but they're from a time when baseball cards were being just super mass produced, but before they were like higher quality cards, or before they started putting like weird inserts that were going to be more rare into these. And that's why, you can still buy unopened boxes of Topps cards from this era for nothing. I think I paid something in the neighborhood of $2 a piece for these. So they really are worthless. Not to me, but overall. And then before I open these, the one thing I'll say, because I think I took a picture of these and I put it up on like Instagram or Twitter or both. And of course people were already like, oh, eat the gum. I'm not going to eat the gum. I said this to them and I'll say it to you. This is not Jackass. This is Classic Gaming Quarterly. So this gum was disgusting back then. In fact, my stepmom, I used to chew it anyway, but my stepmom like forbade me from chewing the gum. And that's when these were brand new, like back in 86, 87. Because even then the gum was completely hard. Which, I don't really get, but whatever. And she would tell me not to chew the gum, and I would. And I can't even imagine what this gum would be like now. But I had bought 3 packs of these, but one of them I put up on the shelf and isn't going to get opened. Other thing I'll say, the 86 Topps set is like particularly maligned by people because it has hardly any good cards as far as like rookie cards and stuff goes. And I'll talk about that more a little bit later. But now we're going to finally open up these packs. So I don't even know if we're going to get anybody good, although I don't even know what I would consider to be good at this point. Oh man, where's the rest of it? Oh, all right, so there's the gum. The gum is stuck to Mario Ramirez, and oh man, it left like residue. Oh, that's gross. Look at that. But all right, we'll see what we got here. But yeah, it's funny even looking at these because I can remember a lot of these just pictures. These two stuck together. All right, yeah, Mario Ramirez has gum residue on him, so you got to go. But like I can tell, I specifically remember. Like I don't know who Floyd Bannister really is or if he was ever any good, but I just remember that picture. I'm not going to sit here and make you guys look at every single card, obviously, but maybe we'll get somebody good here or something. Jeff Burrows, Luis Sanchez, Urbano. Oh, here, this is a cool card. To me, this is a cool card. I got Dennis Eckersley. That's pretty cool. I don't recall ever having this card. So I'm going to set that one aside. Because I'll warn you right now, most of these cards are probably going to end up just going into paper recycling. Kurt Wardle, Steve Kemp, Dave Stapleton, Jorge Orta, Ken Schramm, Dave Collins, Ray Fontenot, John Stupor and Joe Carter. So yeah, nothing really good here. But so just to kind of show you guys what the cards look like, very basic. And then, but see, the front is glossy, and then the back is just unfinished. And this is low quality paper. It's brown, unbleached cardstock. Because this is what baseball cards were like back then. Going back to I don't even know when. And that's why a pack of baseball cards was only 35 cents. And then I remember, if you guys remember this, they did this every year for a few years. This came in every pack. Win a trip to spring training. Win a trip for 4 to the 1987 spring training camp of the team of your choice. That's pretty cool. So anyway, that is the first pack, which is probably just headed for the garbage, aside from Dennis Eckersley. See if we have any better luck with the second pack. I mean, it almost looks moldy. Like any chance, well, there was never any chance I was going to chew this gum, but oh, here's a cool one. Brett Butler. I would say if you're a California person, because Brett Butler played for both the Giants and the Dodgers, and I didn't mention this before, but I only ever got to go to one professional sporting event of any kind for the first, 18, 20 years of my life, and it was a Giants game at Candlestick Park. I believe it was against the Astros, and I believe that Brett Butler hit a home run. The only home run of the game. Anybody else in here good? At least we got Brett Butler. That was something. Randy Bush. Oh, here, these are kind of cool. So this is like a special card, like a non-standard card. 85 record breaker. Phil Niekro, New York Yankees, oldest pitcher to hurl a shutout. I don't know if it's gonna focus there, but I mean, this guy looks. Does it say how old he is? This guy looks old. I mean, he has a full head of gray hair. It looks like Tommy Lasorda's pitching. He wins his 300th game in the process. Phil Niekro becomes a patriarch among pitchers to hurl a shutout. He was 46 years and 188 days old. The former mark was held by Satchel Paige, listed at 46 years, 75 days old. So that it was always kind of cool finding stuff like that, or there were like these turn back the clock cards that were pretty cool. Scott Bradley, Jeff Reardon, Alan Wiggins, Eddie Murray. I remember Eddie Murray. I don't even know how to say that guy's name. So yeah, overall, that was a bunch of more crappy cards. And that was generally what it was like, buying those cards back then. It's just like nobody, because there weren't a lot of good players. But I brought out some more baseball cards, although not very many, that I wanted to kind of share with you guys. So like I said, the 86 Topps just didn't really have a lot of good cards in them, but it had some. And then the way that Topps made up for that, so you can imagine, right? Your Topps or your Fleer or Donruss. I mentioned this before one time, by the way, but this year that I started collecting baseball cards, I collected Topps, and my best friend at the time, Sean was a Fleer man. And so, as kids are, you always have to find something to argue about. And so we would argue because I would like, Topps is the best, Fleer sucks. And he'd be like, no, Topps sucks. Fleer is awesome. It's stupid stuff. But I will say this, quality-wise, Fleer cards were better. They were on like higher quality card stock and whatnot. But anyway, if you're one of these companies, baseball season starts in April, right? Well, when do the baseball cards hit the shelf back then? I don't even know. But, the decision as far as like which baseball cards to print and which ones not to print is something that's a decision you have to make, probably months ahead of time. And, of course, the most sought after baseball cards are rookie cards, right? But, a rookie in baseball is still someone that's been playing professional baseball for probably a few years, in AAA ball and AA ball, single A ball, whatever, fall leagues, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's like, if you're Topps, like, you're probably trying to talk to the teams and say, hey, you think you're going to call this person up or that person, because they knew who the top prospects were. And in '86, they just didn't do a good job, I guess, of doing that, because there just really aren't very many good '86 Topps rookie cards. But what they did to make up for that, and I'm sure they did this other years as well, is they came out with what they called the '86 traded set. And I think that was a common thing for baseball card companies to do, because the same thing could happen where maybe you printed out a card for a player who was going to play for, say, like the Blue Jays, and then before the season started, the player gets traded to, the Cincinnati Reds or something. And so now the card you have in your set is sort of wrong. And so what these traded sets was it was like a subset, it would come in a small box, and it was like these updated cards, but you had to buy the whole box, because it was just it was like maybe like, I don't know, $20 or not even that, maybe $10. But generally, you had to order that through the mail unless you lived somewhere where you had access to like a dedicated baseball card shop. And so I have some of those here, some of these, some cards out of the Topps traded set. And what's interesting is the '86 Topps traded set was actually printed in Europe. I think it was in Ireland. And so these traded cards are actually higher quality than the regular series cards. So like, this is out of the Topps traded set. That's Will Clark. Anybody who's a Giants fan knows Will the Thrill. And this is from the traded set. And so I don't know if it'll show up on camera. Well, here, I'll show you here. The next one I got here is Fernando Valenzuela, who of course breathed through his eyelids like the Gila monsters, or what was it? No, the lava lizards of the Galapagos Islands. So you can see the back, Fernando's up here, and you can see how it's this unbleached, crappy paper. And then the Will Clark card down here is on bleached cardstock, and so it's a little bit nicer quality. But so anyway, there's Fernando Valenzuela, of course, a great Dodger pitcher. And like when I was growing up, like it seemed like all the kids wanted to be Will Clark, and he was very popular. Next, I got a bunch of '86 Topps here. We're just gonna kind of ram through them. I already mentioned Kirby Puckett. There's his '86 card. So Pete Rose had two cards, because you might remember Pete Rose was a player manager. So he was still playing on the team as their first baseman, and he was also the manager, and apparently he was also their bookie. But he got two cards in the '86 set. So this is his manager card. So you see, he's standing in the dugout looking all managerial, and then here is his player card. It's kind of hard to feel bad for Pete Rose. It's kind of messed up that he's getting kind of frozen out of baseball, considering he's, statistically among the very best ever to live. But at the same time, you don't ever really hear any stories about Pete Rose that make him seem like a nice guy. So what else we got? There's so many. We don't need to go through every single one of these, but Ricky Henderson, Cal Ripken, Don Mattingly when he was on the Yankees, Mike Schmidt, Nolan Ryan, Roger Clemens, Tony Gwynn from the Padres. He was another popular player back then. And then here's another one of these Topps traded sets. Speak of the devil, Jose Canseco. And I don't remember if Mark McGwire had an '86 card. I don't think so, but I wouldn't swear to that. And then what else do we have here? Oh yeah, so I wanted to show you. So this is a Fleer card. Again, this is Will Clark's. So this is Will Clark's rookie card for Fleer. And so like you can see the back is like empty, because he only has one line of stats when he was playing for AAA Fresno. So, but like that's on like I don't know if you can tell, but that's on like bleached cardstock, and that's also just, I think that's a nice design. You know, every year the design of the cards would change. That's one of the things you'd be waiting for. Is like, oh, what are the cards going to look like this year? So I don't have any 87 tops here to show, but 87, it was like this wood grain background that a lot of people don't like. I don't remember really minding it too much. Here, what else? So I want to talk about this. So Upper Deck, like I feel like, and this is really unfair, but to me it's like Upper Deck kind of ruined baseball cards, because Upper Deck came out and I think packs of Upper Deck were like $2 a piece. Like they were these really nice quality cards. And the problem is, if it had just been Upper Deck, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But, you know, once Upper Deck did it, everybody else wanted to start coming out with these higher quality cards and different special editions. And it's just funny, like in 86, if you went to the store, your only choices, like there'd be like, you know, you can buy the Topps cards, you can buy the Fleer cards, maybe you live somewhere where you can get Donruss cards, and you flash forward like 4 or 5 years, and it's probably part of the reason that you stopped having cards at the corner stores and whatnot, is there was just like tens and tens and tens of different card series. Like even the same brand would have like different series of cards. I mean, you can still see it today. Just go to Target and look at the card aisle. It's ridiculous. But it was kind of Upper Deck, I think, that got the ball rolling on that. It's really not their fault. But and so 2 cards I have here. I've got Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens. None of these cards, by the way, these cards are all in these nice protectors. None of these cards are worth anything. The bottom really fell out of the baseball card industry. And it's funny, like now, and no baseball card is really worth anything unless it's been professionally graded. And like for me personally, I think professional grading is a huge load of horse dung. But anyway, so they're, you know, very nice, glossy, you know, with full color, but that's no big deal. But the same thing on the back. The back is also, you know, glossy, coated, full color. It had the little hologram logo on it. So when I was a kid, like if, you know, the old measuring contest, you know, if you had like a decent collection of Upper Deck cards, like you were a real hot dog, you know, because, you know, you were paying like $2 a pack for cards. And then when that happened, if you were just buying regular Topps baseball cards, you know, you were practically a loser. It's like, oh, you still buy those? Those suck. You know, you have to buy these cool ones. And I have a few more here I just thought were neat. Oh, so this is also from 86. Who out there remembers Sports Flicks? It's another Will Clark card, actually. I don't know if this is going to come through on camera. This is going to be kind of difficult, but it's a lenticular card. So you see it's animated, but I'm struggling with, I know it's the reflection of the sun. I don't know if you can see that, but this is Will Clark's 86 Sport Flicks rookie card. And I only ever had a couple packs of these Sport Flicks because I remember them being kind of pricey too. But those are pretty neat. And then here's, because I mentioned him earlier, Derek Jeter, 1992 draft pick. How awesome is that? And his stats on the back are literally his high school stats. So, I mean, how cool is that? You know, just going back to like, you know, the Derek Jeter years with the Yankees, especially those, you know, the championship years and just the years they were good in the playoffs. You know, it's like I always grew up, you know, hearing about these like, you know, vaunted Yankees teams, you know, way back in the day, you know, like the Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig years, and then later on, you know, Joe DiMaggio and Yogi Berra and, you know, Whitey Ford, who just passed away, sadly, you know, Roger Maris, that was later still. You know, it seemed like so many of the best players, Reggie Jackson, so many of the best players in the history of baseball played for the Yankees. And so I think for me, because for me, you know, if you're going to make a mural of like the greatest Yankees of all time, you're going to put like, you know, Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle. Sorry, I forgot Mickey Mantle. If you're going to put all these guys up there, Derek Jeter goes right up there next to him. Easy. And So for me, it was like I kind of got to witness, what I thought was sort of like this historical Yankees greatness, and that was pretty cool. Speaking of those Yankee teams, here's an old Joe Torre card from when he was a catcher for the Braves. I don't even know what year. This is a 1968 Topps card. So if you want to see the back there. And then I just thought this one would be kind of cool. I know we got some hockey fans out there like Derek. Eric Lindros was not only a great hockey player, but was also a baseball prospect. Obviously, he chose. It's sort of sad. He chose to go with hockey, and then had problems with concussions and whatnot, and it cut his career short. And if he had stuck with baseball, that wouldn't have happened. But maybe he wasn't as good a baseball player as a hockey player. But here, this is 1990 score, and you can see. So this is 1990. This is just a base set, but now all of a sudden the back is also glossy and in full color. And I guarantee you, this was not 35 cents a pack anymore. And then the last one I was going to talk about real fast. So this came, I believe this was in the 1992 score set. Speaking of which, score is basically like, they were like the worst cards, like completely worthless going forward. And for some reason I got stuck. I think I bought 2 boxes at different times I think they were both score cards. One of them definitely was. But it was 1992 and I bought at Costco, believe it or not, I bought a box of score baseball cards. And it came with this. So this is apparently the first time that any card company, I forgot how they have a weird name for it, like sellback or something, like they call it like a sellback card or something like that. It's when they take a card from an earlier series and put it as an insert in a later year's series, because this is a 1990 score. And when I found this, I thought like, oh my God, I hit the jackpot. I can like retire, like not retire. I was, 92, I was 15. But, I used to buy Beckett. I had a card store like a mile from my house, bike riding distance from my house. I used to go in there and buy Beckett magazine, if you guys remember that, which was like a price guide. And at one point, this card was worth like some decent scratch. And of course, now it's probably pretty worthless. But this was, there were 3,000 of these. So this is this Chuck Knobloch rookie card from 1990. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's signed by Chuck Knobloch. And it was just a random insert in the pack. So like I said, there were 3,000 of them. Like, can you imagine Chuck Knobloch had to sign? Oh, this fishing guy's done already. How long have I been talking for? I don't think he caught anything. Can you imagine having to sign 3,000 baseball cards? That would suck. But like, so this is the only card I think I own that's in like one of these hard things. Cause I remember taking this down to that baseball card shop and showing them, and they're like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. And they sold me this little, thingy for like $1 or something or whatever they cost. But yeah, I mean, I still have a ton of baseball cards. I don't have all of my baseball cards from when I was a kid, but I have all of my 86 Topps baseball cards from when I was a kid, but they're all beat up, because like I said, I would just play with them. I think I actually got rid, like I went through my 87 and 88 and I picked out anything that was like good. And then I gave the rest of them to like a neighbor. I had a neighbor kid who was really into baseball, and he was just a little kid. And I'm like, here you go, have some baseball cards, And I mean, since then I've gone like in and out, of, collecting baseball cards a little bit, mostly out. But I mean, it's still fun to pick up a pack every now and then. In fact, it's kind of funny. Like when I bought these 2 packs to open on camera, the next time I was at Target, I bought a couple of new packs, thinking like, oh, well, here you're going to see these old cards, and then here's what new cards look like. And then I just kind of decided, like, who cares what new cards look like? So I don't have those here. But so baseball cards was number 2. The final thing, number 3, is talking about baseball video games, because this is another reason that I think for most kids that grew up when I did in the 80s, baseball was kind of a big facet of your life. Is that the NES was a big facet of our lives. And there are not literally countless, but there are so many baseball games on the NES. And I think, in my opinion, the two reasons for that, if you think of all the major sports, baseball, football, hockey, basketball, for an 8-bit system, like which one of those four sports do you think it's the easiest to make a good baseball game for? I mean, baseball is the simplest of those four sports. And so, like, for me personally, I could go the rest of my life and play nothing but 8-bit baseball games as far as baseball games go and be perfectly happy. Like, I've never played a 16-bit baseball game and felt that gameplay-wise it brought anything new to the table, except maybe like a season mode or something. But I mean, as far as like, oh, this game plays so much better. Like, some of my favorite baseball games are on the NES, and there's, baseball games on the Genesis where I just think, oh, well, those, I think it really wasn't until maybe like World Series baseball later on in the Genesis lifespan where I felt like, okay, like that's something a little bit new. That's pretty good. The other reason is that baseball is hugely popular in Japan. So it was easy. They were already pumping out all these games for the Famicom, and, maybe a little bit of reskinning, changing some team names and stuff, and, give it a new name, and you could bring that right out in the US, which is what happened. And I already told the story about playing the NES Black Box baseball game across the street with my friend Steven. And to this day, I still hate that game. I even played it again yesterday or a couple days ago. I don't know, just because I was thinking about making this episode. I'm like, let me load it up on my Mister. And I still hate it. I mean, it brings back memories, I'll say that, because we played the hell out of that game just because we had it. But it's like we always knew, like we would play it, and usually what would happen is, like, for whatever reason, we didn't really play each other so much. Like, maybe he only had one controller, but that doesn't make sense. We used to play against the computer, and maybe we would go back and forth, like pass the controller back and forth. I don't remember. But, you'd get to like the 9th inning and you'd be up by, 3, 4, 5 runs, and you just knew. You knew that the computer was going to beat you in the 9th inning. And sure enough, that's what would happen. And we would just be sickened by it. But, I mean, other games that were popular back then, like I mentioned this before, Jonathan's older brother was a big sports gamer. And he played a lot of Bases Loaded, I remember. And Bases Loaded was cool because it had that TV-style presentation. Like, I don't think that in my opinion at least, Bases Loaded doesn't play as well. Like, I prefer the behind-the-batter view, at least for batting. Like, I mean, I think a cool game might have been, like, what if you had behind-the-pitcher view when you're pitching and then behind-the-batter view when you're batting? But maybe that's too complicated for those old systems. I don't really know. But it looked cool. Like, if you walked by a TV and someone was playing Bases Loaded, that would catch your eye because it had that broadcast style presentation. Other games, like, it's kind of funny because now I feel like Baseball Stars on the NES is like this highly regarded game, and deservedly so. Baseball Stars is a cool game. I'd never heard of it when I was a kid. I didn't know anybody that had Baseball Stars. You had some crappy ones, like there was an official like Major League Baseball game on the NES, and that game was pretty crappy as well. My favorite baseball game on the NES is Baseball Stars 2, which didn't come out until something like 1992. So it's kind of a rare game, and not many people have heard of it because, how many people were still primarily NES gamers in like 1992? I mean, I could talk about other systems and stuff, but that would take forever. But, just NES, it seemed like most kids would have like some baseball game for their NES. And I mean, to this day, it's fun to just load up a game. And, a 9-inning game is still going to take you, I don't know, 15 minutes at least, 20 minutes. And it's just sort of mindless of just sitting there playing it. And so I think it was part of what just kind of kept baseball in our minds when we were a kid and made us want to go outside, and play, wiffle ball in the street or go play catch or whatever. Like I said, I never played Little League, but plenty of kids at school did. But, I kind of like when I do these shows, I really like being able to play a game, like at the end, a lot of the flashback episodes are like that. Like, okay, now we're going to play this game. Or like I did that in the last episode with Universal Soldier. And so I had already decided, like, okay, I want to finish off this episode by playing a game. And I was trying to think of what I wanted to play. And so I thought about, like, well, maybe we should play some, NES black box baseball, even though I hate it. I thought of like some other popular games in the NES. Like, oh, maybe we should play Baseball Stars 2 so that I can show it to you guys. Or maybe we should play some Power League on the TurboGrafx 16, just because I'm a big proponent of that series. But then I decided this is going to be a cool game to play, and I'll tell you why. I have it here in my car, believe it or not. Just because it's got a cool story behind it and it's a cool game. So Namco, in like 1986, I want to say, I could be off, made this game called Professional or Pro Baseball Family Stadium. And they released that for the Famicom. And people often call it Pro Yaku. I don't know why people do this with Japanese games. They'll do it in like half Japanese and half English. Because Pro Yaku just means pro baseball. But then they'll say Family Stadium and say that in English. So just say Pro Baseball Family Stadium. But it's called Family Stadium because Namco developed that specifically for the Famicom. And then here in the U.S., Tengen licensed it, for, distribution or whatever. They wanted to publish it on the North American NES, and they, of course, had to retool it a little bit. And that's the game that we got as RBI Baseball. So RBI Baseball is actually a Namco game. And RBI, so these are like worldwide statistics. I looked this up. Believe it or not, the top selling baseball game on the NES was Black Box Baseball, which kind of blows my mind, but that game came out in like 84 in Japan, and I think for a while it was the only baseball game there was, and that's why I think it just sold a lot of copies. And then when it came out here, it was a black box game, so it came out before other games. I think it sold a lot of copies because of that. But the second highest selling NES baseball game was the original RBI Baseball. And it was, I knew a lot of kids that had, it was a very popular game, and it was a good game. But over there in Japan, that game was popular enough that for whatever reason, Namco decided, well, what if we make like an arcade version of that game? And they did, and that was called Pro Baseball World Stadium, or you'll see that one called Puro Yaku World Stadium. And they made several of them, and the first two, World Stadium and World Stadium 91, both got ported to the PC Engine. And so what I have here is Puro Yaku or Pro Baseball World Stadium 91. And you can see that, it's a Namco game. Namco was a major developer and publisher on the PC Engine. And this game is, if you grew up and you loved RBI Baseball, like if that's like a beloved game of your childhood, I'll put it over here. We're going to check this game out right now, so you're going to check it out. But I mean, you should get your hands on a way to play it somehow. Like, emulate it, like get yourself like, Magic Engine, or there must be like a TurboGrafx emulator for, RetroArch, or you got a Mister or a Raspberry Pi, or just whatever. If you loved playing RBI Baseball, this is like a pseudo 16-bit version of RBI Baseball. It still has the weird cartoony characters with their weird proportions. It still has the same music. But what's funny is like the presentation and whatnot that this game has is really sort of like, covering up like what is a very playable baseball game compared to a lot of other games. I mean, like I played this and I really didn't have anything to complain about. This game is, I think, that fun. And so now we're going to get out of this car and head down to the basement, and we're going to check out some Pro Yaku World Stadium 91 on the PC Engine. Okay, so we're down here in the basement. It is the next day, however. That was yesterday when I was recording in my car. So last night the Dodgers did win the World Series. So there you go. This video is now officially late. Anyway, we're down here. We're going to check out some Pro Yaku World Stadium 91 on the PC Engine, but obviously I have the game in my hand because we're just going to play it on the Mister, just because it's easier to record gameplay footage that way. And I mean, the Mister's emulation of the Turbo is basically perfect, so there's just really no reason not to use it. So yeah, we just got to go down to TurboGrafx and up here, look for Pro Yaku. There we go. Okay, is there anything I want to say before we get started? Not really. Okay, so we're going to hit the run button, and now you're on it calls it it's like the select game screen, but you've also got a few options here. So just really quickly, as far as selecting your game type, the default here is one player versus the computer, because I'm sure that was the most common option used. Although you notice that the controller is a little PC Engine controller, and the computer is a PC Engine, which is pretty cool. You can also play cooperative, 2-player versus the computer. Again, to play any kind of multiplayer, you of course would need a multi-tap. But you can play 2-player cooperative versus the computer, 2-player head-to-head, which I feel like is more common. You can play 3-player, or you can even play 4-player. So that's pretty cool. And then you can do computer versus computer if you want to watch a game. I don't understand why you'd want to do that, but we'll leave it on 1-player versus computer. And then in the options over here, you can play a 5-inning game if you want instead of a 9-inning game. And this is to turn errors on and off. And the default is on. And I turn them off just because I think it's annoying when like an error happens. I mean, because it's all done probably, it's like a random number generator in the game that decides whether or not an error happens. I think it's kind of stupid. And then called 10, that's just the mercy rule. So that means if one of the teams goes up by 10 runs, the game is immediately called for the winning team, obviously. You can't turn that off. You can only change it to 5. So we're just going to leave that alone. And then you go to your team select screen, and ostensibly, much like we saw with a lot of games here in the US back in the day. So this does not have like a NPB license. Like it's an unlicensed game, but they would try to sort of like ride this fine line of not paying a licensing fee, but at the same time trying to give players the experience or whatever of playing a licensed game by sort of making it obvious what the teams are supposed to be without coming out and saying it. And I'm not an expert on Nippon professional baseball, but some of these are more obvious, at least to me. Like the first one here, the orange G, that's the Yomiuri Giants. The red C is the Carp. The W, I believe, is the Whales. I'm guessing S is Swallows. T is the Hanshin Tigers. And BW is the Oryx Blue Wave, which is the team that Ichiro Suzuki played for before he came over to the Mariners. And the BU is the Buffaloes. Some of the rest of these I'm just not sure of. And I don't know why there's 14 teams in this game, but there's only 12 teams in the NPB. So I don't know what the extra 2 teams are supposed to signify, but I'm going to go ahead and be the Buffaloes, and enter password as if you're maybe continuing I don't know if you can play like a season in this game, perhaps. We don't have a password, obviously, so we're just going to hit the 1 button again, and it doesn't really matter who we play. We'll play what I assume are the Swallows. So now you just have to pick your pitcher, but obviously, I'm assuming that that's the pitcher's name, and then I don't really know what the symbol over on the right is. So for us, it's just pick one, because none of them mean anything. And then you can hear the music in the background, and I mean that's the same music that you're used to hearing if you grew up playing RBI Baseball. Shouldn't have swung at that, but I mean, it worked out in my favor, but I shouldn't have swung at that. So you can see, I'll pause the game here just for a second. So you can just sort of see, this still has the same presentation that you're used to seeing, the same graphical style that you're used to, with the 8-bit. I mean, I know technically this is still 8-bit, but whatever. But, with RBI Baseball on the NES, but, it's got a few more colors to play with. So you've got a little bit more detail in the grass. And then you can see the infield grass is not quite the same shade as the outfield grass. And there's like a little bit of detail in the dirt around the bases and in the batter's box. And then once I unpause it, you'll see kind of just a cool little touch is that the batter, while he's waiting for the pitch, is sort of like wagging the bat a little bit, which I think is cool. That was a fast fastball. And then that I should... Well, all right. Ooh. Oh, wow. That barely made it in. It's funny. I was going to say this in the intro and I didn't. But, I'll pause it for a second. Just like playing a real game of baseball, you can load up a game of probably most video baseball games. Oh, I don't know, maybe not. And, things can go either way. Like you notice this game did not have like a difficulty setting or anything, but you could load up this game and you can play so horribly or feel like you're playing so horribly that you can get dominated by the computer so that the mercy rule gets invoked like on you. Or you can have the opposite happen. I've played this game. I've had the mercy rule invoked on me in this game, and I've had games where, I've had much more success against the computer. And I mean, that's really the way real baseball is. It doesn't matter how good one team is and how bad another team is. Sometimes it just depends on whether or not one team can string some hits together and get a few bounces going their way. So, to already have 2 runs on the board with no outs in the first is pretty good, and I would say is not representative of normal experience for me playing this game. Shouldn't have swung at that either. Just a second here. Wow. Oh, damn it. It's really hard, I've noticed, to talk and play this game at the same time. So, like, I don't want to sit here and just be silent the whole time, because I understand that that's not as entertaining to watch. But at the same time, the more I talk, the less I'm paying attention. All right, not bad, not bad. This game, by the way, like, it always just sends the runners. Like, it's up to you to call the runners back, or no matter what the hit, they'll go. So putting 2 runs on the board in the first was nice, but I mean, the computer can definitely come right back on you. This game, like, I said in the beginning sequence that sort of the cartoony presentation of this game, belied what is a really playable and enjoyable game, but I think it also belies what is a pretty tough game. But, as I said, I think, to me, like, that's the way you want it. Like, you don't want a game, a game like this that's easy to play is not going to have a lot of replay value, and if you had paid, the Japanese equivalent of $50 for this game, back in 1991, and then you got it home and it was just like a super easy game, then at some point, you'd quit playing it, and then you're not getting your money's worth anymore. So, all right, there we go. We got to the first inning without letting any runs get in. That's not going to... Is it? No. Oh, wow. That doesn't look like that should have been a home run to me, but I'm not complaining. That seems like it should have hit the top of the wall. And I also don't understand why the outfielder didn't jump for it. One thing I didn't mention, because it hasn't come up yet, I guess, is like, you know, you can have your fielders dive for a... Oh, he's got that. Dive for a ball, but they can also jump. And sometimes just being able to hop up in the air, that makes all the difference between getting a ball and not getting a ball. So I'm just surprised. Surprised that he didn't jump there. That's not going to make it. It's funny. You'll hit a lot of fly balls where you think, oh, that's going to be a home run just based on like when it's leaving the infield, and then much like again like real baseball, you just see the ball die as it's getting into the out. Like maybe there's like a wind blowing in from the outfield, and the ball just dies and it's easily caught. So I mean, now we're up by 3 runs, but again, I mean, it's for you to get, well, maybe not you, but for me to get like even 5 runs put up against me by the computer in 1 inning is not unusual. So like a 3-run lead is like, does not give me any sense of confidence whatsoever. Although so far, I mean, we're playing really well, so I'm pleased about that. It happens a lot that, you know, the player that you think you're controlling is not the player that you're controlling, because when a ball gets hit, the 3 basemen return to their base, you know, to receive any throw that comes in. And so, like, you know, you might think, based on where the ball's going, okay, the 3rd baseman is going to be the one that's going to field that ball. And you think you're controlling the 3rd baseman, but you're not. You're controlling the shortstop. And so you end up not getting the ball, and it gets through the outfield. But what's funny is it seems like, even though that's like it's kind of frustrating, but it seems like the same thing happens to the computer. Like you'll hit a ball, like a ground ball, out of the infield that no way should have been a base hit, but the computer doesn't get to it because the first baseman should have fielded it, but instead he runs directly to first base. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to call that a bug or I mean, it's just sort of the way the game is, but you know, because it seems to affect both teams equally, you know, it's kind of not that big of a deal. The shortstop's got a nice arm. So another thing I noticed, and I don't know if the developers, because this was a common thing with like Madden did that, where even though the game is totally unlicensed, you know, for all I know, you know, I can't read the names of the players. Not that it would help me, but you know, these players may be analogous to the actual players, you know, on these 2 teams, and definitely it seems like depending on which team you play, certain players are better than others. Like if you play as the Buffaloes, maybe you've got a shortstop with a really good arm, but maybe you play as the Giants, and then the shortstop can't really get the ball fired into first base fast enough. But then maybe somebody else on that team will have a strength that you don't have on the Buffaloes. Nope. Man. Man. That was a rough half inning. I like if, I mean, it's too late, but in between each half inning, it will tell you the cumulative batting average of each team, which I think is kind of cool. I mean, I don't know. You're not going to like, that's gone, I think. Yeah. You're not going to do anything with that information, but it's interesting anyway. 132 meters. That's like 400 feet. Over 400 feet, I think. That's my bad. I accidentally threw it to third base. Oh, not quite. You can definitely, it's hard to turn a double play in this game, but you can definitely do it. But, I mean, I was a little nervous having a guy on first and no outs after we already gave up a home run. And I'm definitely still a little bit nervous, but all we can do is try to limit the damage. That's it. Got it. All right, there you go. Speak of the devil, we got a double play to end the inning, so that's very nice. But you see what I mean? I mean, this game is no joke. Yeah. Oh, see, look. So what? This reminds me a lot of Baseball Stars 2 did this. So the opposing pitcher is tired. So see, he's sweating. When I unpause it, he's like sweating and panting. Which, like, the thing is, that should be good for us, but, you know, you waste it when you're doing something like popping out, unfortunately. Are they going to leave him in there? Really? Okay. Wow. Yeah, we definitely were not able to take advantage of that, because now I'm sure at the top of the next inning, guaranteed they're going to bring in a reliever. Nice. That sinker ball that hits home plate is like a real bread and butter pitch, but it seems like sometimes it doesn't work. I think that's maybe the trade-off, is sometimes it doesn't sink, and then you're just throwing a meatball over the plate for the batter. So it's like you don't want to get too greedy using that pitch, because sometimes it'll come back and bite you in the butt. Oh, see, now my guy is tired. But I don't know if that's why the game chooses to bring in relievers like at the top of innings, because like one thing I've noticed is oftentimes if I hook my starter in the middle of an inning and bring in a reliever, he'll like immediately give up a home run. Oh boy, they're bringing in a pinch hitter. Wow, I don't like that. Wow, we got out of a jam there as far as I'm concerned. All right, so now they're bringing in a new pitcher, as I said they would. Oh, this guy's sidearm, you see that? Is that going to go? I doubt it. Nah, died. See what I mean? Like, it seems like, oh, maybe, and then it's like, not even close. All right, there we go. Oh, is that a double play ball? Yep. All right, I got to pull this guy. So again, I don't know the difference. I'm guessing that the symbols on the right must be for right-handed and left-handed. But obviously I don't know which is which. It would be better to put in a righty against this guy, but well, I'm just going to put in this guy and we'll see what happens. All right, well, he's right-handed, so there you go. See, I try to pitch like on the edge of the plate, and if I can get a strike, I like to do the sinker as strike 2. And then, so now I'm up 0-2. So now you can start trying to get creative and trying to get the batter to kind of swing at some garbage. Which that pitch was outside, but he got it anyway. Not that it helped him out at all. So see, I was trying to go for the inside corner there and missed it. So. I don't know what happened there. He caught it and then threw it to the third baseman. I was definitely not holding that way, but the game will kind of like do an automatic cutoff. Like if you throw the ball from the outfield, say to home plate, if somebody's standing there, they're automatically going to cut off the ball. Or if the opposing team is trying to steal second, and then as the catcher, you throw the ball to second, you have to move the pitcher after the catcher throws the ball, or the pitcher will catch it, which is not unique to this game. I've had that problem in other baseball games. I think the Power League games do that too, which is kind of sloppy. It seems like it would have been easy enough to like program the game to not do that. So it can be really hard to catch pop-ups and fly balls in this game because you have like no margin for error. Like most games, if you're about in the right spot, you'll see the fielder like reach out his hand this way or that way, and this game doesn't do that. But and it does seem like if you don't catch it and it hits the ground, there's like a pause before you pick it up. Because there's no infield fly rule in this game, so you could let a pop fly hit the ground and then get a double play because the runners will have taken off. But I tried to do that one time and it bit me in the butt, so. Should not have swung at that. One problem I have in general playing video baseball games is that I swing at, like, I have no like bat discipline or whatever. I swing at everything. And what's weird is like, I know like right about the time I hit the button is when I realize I shouldn't have. It's just like my brain had already sent the signal to my thumb to swing the bat. I'm like, ah, dang it. I shouldn't have swung it, either of those, but, and then you get to the point where then you start not swinging at stuff that you should be swinging at, because then you get like gun shy. I'm gonna try to sinker ball this guy. There you go, strikeout. It's kind of funny because it's just like, I know I got done saying this about black box baseball, but I'm just waiting. Like I'm waiting. It's the 6th inning. I've got a 2-run lead. To me, it's like, it's just a matter of time. And maybe that's bad. You know, that's like negative thinking, right? Because then it's going to turn into like a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing. But like, I'm just waiting for them to come back and take the lead. Boy, this guy's 2 for 2 in this game, too. Glad we have 2 outs. Nice. Perfect. Not perfect at all. All right. Kept him to 1. All right, this guy's 0 for 2. This is my kind of guy. 0 for 3, chump. All right, we 9 more outs. That's what Joe Buck would say, right? You know, the Swallows are down to their last 9 outs. It's funny, people really hate, some people, not everybody obviously, but some people really hate Joe Buck. I like Joe Buck quite a bit. But one thing I always think is funny is it's just like this trope, you know. It could be like the beginning of an elimination game for one team, and it's like, you know, I'm surprised he didn't say it last night, you know, that like, oh, the Tampa Bay Rays are down to their last 27 outs, like right at the beginning of the game, because it's just something he always says. But I mean, it doesn't actually bother me, obviously. All right. All right, well, he was out, but we got a runner on third. Let's see if we can turn that into a run. You see the opposing pitcher is already out of gas. Perfect. See, I called him back. Swung way too early. Oh, crap. Oh, he did catch it. I didn't think he caught it. All right, they're bringing in a pinch hitter. Damn it. Eight. I shouldn't do that. I'm going to jinx myself. I should shut up. 7. Ooh. Nice. I would sure love an insurance run, though. All right, now they're bringing in another pitcher. This guy is 2 for 3. That's going to fall. Ooh, that's an extra base hit, too. Nice. All right. Should have swung at that one. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, I thought he was a goner. Oh, man. See, that's cheap, because now, look, I'm going to score 2 runs, but I don't feel great about that, because that's kind of cheap. But I said I want insurance runs, and I just got some, so I can't really complain. Look, this guy's tired already now. But it's funny. Okay, fine. I'm up 7-1. I don't feel confident about that at all. All right, one more out. Swung way too early at that one, too. Oh. Oh, man. All right. All right, well, whatever. 4-run inning. This guy's 0 for 3. It's either 0 for 3 or 3 for 3. I think the red symbols mean outs, but I'm not positive about that, actually. Not good. Not good at all. I'm getting, my hands are getting a little bit sweaty. I'm getting stressed. All right, that's 2 outs. I mean, at this point, it's just like limit the damage, you know, limit the damage. It's going to go in the stands. but that's strike 2. And that's strike 3. All right, see, we got out of that only 1 run, so I'm starting to feel a little bit better, but again, with these games, dang it. Nothing's a given, you know. Oh my god, I swung at that like 3 seconds too early. Now this guy's tired. I thought that was going to be a base hit. 2 outs. Hey! Stupid computer. Oh, there we go. Sorry, my monitor went to sleep. That's one of the downsides of playing in a capture window. Oh, nice. Nah, I thought maybe I could get a triple out of that, but no. Please, 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 please. Oh, see, I mean, first of all, yay, I got a home run, but same thing, like that should have hit the wall. I don't get that. But hey, we're up 9-2. All right. That's it. Bottom of the 9th coming up. What I assume are the Swallows' last chance. But see, same thing. I mean, I'm just saying I wouldn't be shocked. So, all right, they're bringing in a pinch hitter. Well, I'll take 1. Oh, well. I'm really not good at all at picking off base stealers. But I am pretty good at striking out batters. So, all right, they're down to their last out. Joe Buck would say if he were here right now. That's it. Yeah. Ha ha. Wow, we cumulatively batted 375. That's pretty good. Yeah, I don't see where it's. Well, maybe it'll give us a password in a minute, or I don't see it there. You get the box score there, and I don't know what that guy's doing with his hips. That's a little bit weird. So if I hit start. Oh, okay. So now it'll go and it'll play, I guess, another game. So we're not going to do that, obviously. But so there you go. So there is Pro Baseball or Pro Yaku World Stadium 91. Like I said, I think it's just a pretty cool little game. And, you know, there are other games I could have played where you guys probably would have already been familiar with them. But this way you got to check out something that you might otherwise not get to see. So that's going to do it for this episode of Flashback. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.